Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. My name is Catherine J., and I'm on the Board of Trustees here at the church. I'll be joined in today's service by my 8 fellow board members. We are all so pleased to welcome you here today. Please know that we are always working on how to better welcome and care for each other. When we're not under a shelter-in-place order, this congregation has in-person worship on Sundays at 11 a.m. But thankfully, the church is a community, not a building. So whether we gather in person or here online, it is so good to be together. Now please take a moment and prepare for worship. Find a candle so you can kindle your own flame when we light our chalice in a few moments. Also, please participate in the service by typing your comments in the chat section when we invite you to do so, and sometimes when we haven't. We hope your worship experience today goes smoothly, but technical issues sometimes pop up. If you run into trouble connecting, please send a private message to the UUCB Facebook page. We don't have a team of professional producers to make our videos for us, but we're very grateful for the collaboration of volunteers and staff, and everyone who joins us in this virtual community. Now let's join together in singing hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken. The words will appear on your screen.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's a play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Now, whether you have your candle ready or you're lighting the inner chalice in your heart, let us light our chalice together. I invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, I carry the flame in whatever town or city you are joining us from. We light our chalice with an invitation to the return to the commitments that we know strengthen our resolve and deepen our love. Not the compromises or conditions or qualifications or equivocations or caveats in which we have sometimes found ourselves. No, right now we return to the commitments of our hearts, the ones we know to be true, to be good, to give life, to grant peace. As we return to these commitments, may we feel the strength and clarity rise up within us. And may this time together nourish all the hours to come in the week up ahead. Now, please join my fellow board member, Beth Pollard, as she leads us in our covenant.
Let us say our covenant together. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
To be humble, to be kind. It is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend. To give in such a way that has no end. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is a thinking that the heart can still be saved. And the darkness can come quick. The danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. And tell me what it is that you see. A world that's full of endless possibility. And heroes don't look like they used to. They look like you do. We are love. We are one. We are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace. We are war. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other, nothing more. We are how we treat each other.
This morning's Time for All Ages story comes to us from Persia from a long time ago, and it's about two friends named Musa and Ali. Musa and Ali had been best friends for a long time, and so they decided to take a journey together across the mountains of Persia. And so they climbed on their camels and they set off. But it was a long journey and they grew tired, and so they came to rest by the banks of a river. And there, Musa and Ali, as they often did, had a discussion. But that discussion turned into an argument. And they got more and more angry, and suddenly Ali slapped Musa across the face. Musa was astonished. He was angry. But he took a moment and he thought, I cannot slap my friend Ali back. He is my best friend. And I might have done the same thing if I had gotten a little more angry. But Musa needed to do something with the feelings inside him. And so he got up and he went over and he found a stick. And he took that stick, and in the sand by the river, he wrote, "Today, my best friend slapped me." Ali, of course, was feeling very, very sorry about what he did. And so he came over and he stood by Musa and he said, "I am sorry, my friend." And together they watched the words in the sand disappear. And they got back on their camels and they carried on with their journey. And they went to a foreign town and they had a great time and they came back. That is not part of our story today. And on the way back, they stopped along the same riverbank. And this time, it was much later in the season, and the river had risen, and it was available to go swimming. And so Musa went first, and he stepped in, and he slipped on a rock, and he began to drown. And his friend Ali jumped in immediately and pulled him out to safety. And they sat for a moment, panting and anxious on the riverbed, wet. And then Musa got up and he went to the bags that are on his camel, and he took out a knife. And with that knife, he found a rock and he carved, "Today, my best friend saved me." And Ali looked at Musa and he said, "Last time you wrote in sand, and this time you've written in stone. Why?" And Musa said, "When someone hurts us, we should write it down in sand so that the winds of forgiveness can blow the hurt away. But when someone saves us, when someone does something kind to us, we must engrave it in stone. We must hold it in our hearts so that we will remember it forever." And the two friends hugged, and they dried off, and they climbed back on their camels, and they continued home. And that is our story for all ages today. Friends, please join me in a quiet time of meditation and prayer. Find a place of comfort in your body, in your soul. Take a deep breath, Let your chest expand. Open your heart. Center yourself and breathe. We'll be sitting together in silence, even as we are far apart in space. This morning, we lift our hearts with all of those in our community with joys to share. If you have a joy, an appreciation, a small or a great celebration you would like to share, please type it in the comment section now. Our joy connects us in community. We know that there are those in our community in sadness, who are grieving, who have suffered, who are in need. If you have a sorrow or another burden that we can hold with you, please share it in the comments now. Our sorrows connect us in community. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, hear our joys that they may be multiplied by every heart that receives them, and bear our sorrows with the reminder we are not alone. There is love holding us as we hold each other. Amen.
Go.
To help us maintain integrity in the coming weeks, an ease between our bodies and our minds and our emotions, I'd like to invite you to join me now in an embodied prayer. You can do this sitting or standing, or if you prefer, you can simply watch and feel the needs of your own heart. We'll do this once with words, and then we'll do it one more time in silence. We begin with the prayer pose, to find our inner quiet and a sense of calm in our bodies. We lift our hands to the sky to feel the presence of the Spirit of life, the Spirit of love. We bring our hands down to take in the blessings that are available to us. We bring our hands to our hearts to take in what we need. We hold our arms outstretched to offer our gifts to the people around us. And we return once again to our prayer pose and breathe for calm. And now we'll do it one more time without words. Amen.
We would be one as now we join in singing.
justice, strive to make us free.
Today's reading will feel a little different. We're going to read an untitled poem by Gregory Orr 3 times in the voices of 3 different UUCB board members. Board member Elaine Miller will read the poem for the first time. As she reads, listen for a word or a phrase that captures your attention or your imagination. Let yourself be surprised by what you notice. Listen with an open heart for what moves you.
This is what was bequeathed us, the earth the beloved left, and leaving left to us. No other world but this one, willows and the river and the factory with its black smokestacks. No other shore, only this bank on which the living gather. No meaning but what we find here, no purpose but what we make. That and the beloved's clear instructions. Turn me into song, sing me awake.
Now board member David Roberts will read Gregory Orr's poem a second time. As David reads, listen this time for where the poem meets your concerns. Maybe it's a moment when a word or a phrase alights on something that's happening in your life. This might be a different word or phrase than the one that caught your attention the first time. Let the poem sink into your heart.
This is what was bequeathed us. This earth the beloved left, and leaving left to us. No other world but this one. Willows and the river and the factory with its black smokestacks. No other shore, only this bank on which the living gather. No meaning but what we find here. No purpose but what we make. That and the beloved's clear instructions. Turn me into song. Sing me awake.
Now, board member Helen Tinsley Jones will read Gregory Orr's poem one final time. This time, listen for any invitation the poem might offer you. Is there a word or a phrase that invites you to action? How does the poem call you to respond? In this final reading, listen with hope and the promise of transformation, whether your own or your community's.
This is what was bequeathed us. This earth the beloved left, and leaving left to us. No other world but this one. Willows and the rivers and the factory with its black smokestacks. No other shore, only this bank on which the living gather. No meaning but what we find here, no purpose but what we make. That and the beloved's clear instructions. Turn me into song, sing me awake.
We dedicate ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. Every week, whether in our sanctuary or here online, we encourage ourselves, we dedicate ourselves to integrity, joy, and service. This is our liturgy, our chosen language, a steady thrum of commitment that vibrates through our community. We say it every week. That repetition helps it rest into our souls. This has long been my favorite moment of church. I love the repetition. I love that we rise in body and spirit to make our pledge together. I love that we want to create lives of integrity, joy, and service. Still, I'm a little slow. Until very recently, I mostly applied this collective statement to the money we share with our community partners. I focused on the "we dedicate this offering," part more than we dedicate ourselves. I thought about the collection plate. I didn't think quite so much about me or my community. I have changed over these last 2 months. Now I hear our dedication with new ears. I yearn for it to be true. The joy, yes, absolutely. The service, of course, now more than ever. But most especially, I need that encouragement to integrity. Integrity in all its meanings, to be authentic, to be whole, to have an ethical backbone, to have our actions match our values. Integrity carries so many meanings. As my friend and fellow church member Lottie Malik told me recently, integrity is everything. Integrity is everything, and yet it seems imperiled everywhere. We are barraged with lies. We live in a culture where integrity has been battered to devastating cost. We feel this fact in our bodies. Our stomachs churn when we read the news. Sleep can be hard to come by. Our chests get that fluttery, anxious feeling when we hear about friends suffering, people dying because of a casual disregard, no, a criminal negligence of the truth. Integrity has lost ground to greed and ambition, and we find ourselves soaked in a culture of falsehoods. Pledging ourselves to encourage integrity in each other feels like a radical, absolutely necessary act. It is everything. So much has been broken, torn asunder, and so quickly. Long existing problems have been starkly revealed, inequities laid bare. The weight of our current situation is so heavy. Now, brokenheartedness and disappointment are part of the human condition. This is not new. Our hearts have been broken again and again, failed by people we love, failed by institutions we trusted. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote that failure is as much a fact of life as success. Disappointment is as much a fact of life as fulfillment. Even as we aspire for joy, sorrow and grief are constant companions. What is happening right now makes those feelings much worse, more dangerous. Gregory Orr, the poet who wrote the poem you heard earlier, claims that trauma threatens integrity itself by shattering our sense of self and our communities. Orr experienced this firsthand. His dad gave Orr a hunting rifle for his 12th birthday. On his very first hunting trip with his new gun, Orr accidentally shot and killed his 10-year-old brother. The moment shattered him. In Orr's telling, writing poetry healed him, helped to restore his integrity, helped him regain his authentic self. Poetry became his spiritual practice. Writing became a ritual that made him whole. All of us need something to help maintain our integrity. In these past weeks, my daughter Annie has gently persuaded me into an almost daily yoga practice. Our online instructor, an inspiring young woman named Adrian, starts her first video by encouraging us to come into the moment with a little integrity. For Adrian, integrity means a combination of body awareness and mind awareness. Noticing where my thoughts are and coming back to that body awareness, she says. That's a smart observation. Adrian asked me to pay attention to my thoughts, to be aware of how they affect my body. And she coaches me that the reverse is true as well. When my body is aligned and my breathing is balanced, my brain stops racing. My emotions settle down. Integrity is wholeness as much as goodness. Or put another way, our wholeness makes us good. When we pay attention, when we really pay attention, we are our most authentic, most whole selves. We remember that no meaning but what we find here, no purpose but what we make. We look around, we get engaged, we find the energy to speak our truths against the culture of lies. Finding a personal spiritual practice will help. Yet so often we think of integrity as an individual goal linked to making our own choices, true only to our own values. But friends, we proclaim every week that to live lives of integrity means we need encouragement from one another. We cannot embark on a journey towards wholeness alone. Relationships of trust and community of support sustain us. Reverend Christian told a story last week about rescuing starfish on the beach, one by one, each important, each worthy. Starfish themselves have something to teach us about integrity. Activist Jo Lillian Zwerdling writes that, from starfish, I've learned that if we keep our core intact, we can regenerate. We can fall apart, lose limbs, and regrow them as long as we don't let anyone threaten the disc's central integrity. Our church community helps maintain that central integrity. We come together as a whole, creating a core that can last, can regenerate, can protect us when we lose our way as individuals. Church is not perfect, because we aren't perfect. But sometimes we experience moments of grace here, much as in today's story of For All Ages, where Musa wrote his friend's mistake in the sand and engraved his friend's kindness in stone. We forgive. We offer kindness. We sing. We would be one in living for each other, and we believe it might be true. Our church community sings us awake. Being part of a community that welcomes our gifts and our flaws encourages us towards wholeness. Because at its heart, integrity is relational. Being part of a church reminds us of that again and again. We are how we treat each other and nothing more. That is our mission. May it be so. Amen.
My life flows on in endless song above its lamentation. I hear the reel, the far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me rolls, I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost scorn, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? Tyrants tremble as they beat the bells of freedom ring. When friends rejoice for foreign knees, how can I keep from singing? To these and sad dungeons our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep life flows on in endless song, all its lamentation. I hear the breathe far of him that hears a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing? How can I keep from singing?
Like every other organization in these days of sheltering in place, UUCB is experiencing a loss in income. Rental income is down because we can't allow people to use our space, and some members and friends of our congregation have had to hold off on making donations and paying pledges until they can go back to work. We understand that this is a hard time for many people, and we hope you'll reach out to one of the ministers if you could use some financial aid from the minister's discretionary fund. It's more important now than ever for those whose income hasn't been affected to give generously and maybe even make an extra pledge payment or two. Our board and staff are exploring many options to help maintain funding for the ministries and programs we love, but it's going to take all of us digging deep in whatever way we can to support this congregation so that it can continue offering support to those in need. Additionally, UUCB is honoring our commitment to our Good Neighbor organizations, even in these financially challenging days, because they also need support now more than ever. This month, we're sharing half of our offerings with Crisis Support Services of Alameda County. The Crisis Support Services of Alameda County provides a welcoming and safe environment for those in crisis. Their approach is rooted in the belief that healing is possible through collaboration with clients at every stage of service. This is so important in these times. Whether you can make an offering of $1 or $1,000 or somewhere in between, all offerings are given and received with gratitude. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you.
Johann Sebastian Bach presented his second wife, Anna Magdalena, with 2 notebooks full of music that she could play. She was a professional singer, and she got better and better as a keyboard player. So these are 2 little minuets from the Anna Magdalena books.
Please join me in dedicating our offering to the mission of this congregation. We dedicate this offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create a loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. Thank you.
Hello and good morning, everybody. It's been so good to be together in praise and song today. Here are a few important announcements. There will be a simple survey/straw poll for what the congregation wants to see in a minister, interim, or contract this Sunday during virtual happy hour. Board President Carrie Simpson continues to hold office hours on Tuesdays from 3 to 5 and would welcome your calls then. Normally, a board member provides a listening presence in the atrium at least once a month. Throughout May, Elaine Miller has volunteered to listen to your concerns and suggestions. Please reach out to her. At the request of our board president, our executive director, Tess Snook-Oriva, will be hosting the new Ask UUCB virtual chat. This week it will be on Thursday at 6 p.m. before Vespers. Send your questions in advance to ed@uucb.org or just show up. Please refer to the week ahead in your email or on our website for information on how to join. Now, please join Elizabeth and Annie J in singing our closing hymn, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Here in quarantine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here in quarantine, I'm gonna let it shine. Here in quarantine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Friends, there is no world but this one. No meaning but what we find here. No purpose but what we make. Our service today is ended, but our service in the world has just begun. Go in peace. Amen.